Hello, my name is Ellie White, and I'd like to talk with you, please, about everyone passing this video on, if you can, to your friends. And we need to get some help with stopping the spraying of chemicals in our air. I'm going to attach a picture onto the front of this video, which will be what our skies look like this morning. And if any of you would care to see that there is an awful lot of chemtrail activity that has suddenly been increased and revamped, please go outside just before dawn and look up, and you will see literally dozens of planes crisscrossing back and forth. It was at heaviest activity in spring, and now it has started again. These are not natural emissions from planes. These are planes which go back and forth and then crisscross in different patterns in areas where the wind will blow down the elements that are in their sprays upon the population. My name is Ellie White, and I can be reached at buffalostudy@yahoo.com. And if you'd like to help in this ministry, I'm at paypal.com/buffalostudy@yahoo.com or P.O. Box 31, Big Bear Lake, California, 92315. I have put a video out there, which is Ellie White. I died and went to heaven, and it's being copied and put out there by Truth Rabbit or something. And they keep deleting my comments, but I'm trying to get people aware to know that they can contact me at buffalostudy@yahoo.com, because I went onto a site that I was having my videos posted on, and my 3 videos that were on the site were gone, and this Truth Rabbit video, which is exactly me and my testimony, is up there now, and the only thing they added was 1 second of time onto the video and a exclamation point at the end of "I died and went to heaven." So please contact me and let me know what's going on with you. The reason why I started doing these videos is because of the chemtrail issue, and I have a young daughter who has now gotten cancer because of the heavy metals that are in the chemtrails. The elements that are in the chemtrails have identified the aluminum and other chemicals that I probably can't pronounce correctly in order to depopulate our earth and cause many individuals to become cancer. I have a girlfriend that lives right down the street that has 3 different kinds of cancer, and another girlfriend who was a very, very dedicated Marine Corps person for many years who also has cancer, and she lives just a little bit down our same street. So who has the power to stop these? And what's more, who is the person that initiated these requests for depopulating chemicals to be sprayed all over our cities? This is New World Agenda, kill off 7 billion of the people. You know, we show these cute little babies and things, and children that are being targeted actively. Little tiny villages that have absolutely no weapons in them whatsoever. They don't even have streets. They have dirt, a little bit of concrete, a little bit of stucco, walls that are peeling, no food, no water. And this is our active acts of aggression by the 1/10 of 1% at the top, who are determined to depopulate the earth by killing off 7 billion of us. That's B like billion. And at the beginning of this year in the springtime, I brought plants up to the mountains from San Bernardino, which were raised in another area, in a rural farm area. And those little babies were putting out 6 strawberries a day. And then 2 weeks afterward, after they were here, everything stopped. Everything started to die. All the trees that were just starting to put forth their new spring shoots had these horrible, crumpled up little deformed leaves. And then when the spraying stopped, you see further outward on the branch where the leaves are back to being long and large and the right color and healthy. The old leaves, the deformed leaves, were dark green, like something very, very, very aged. And the cancer which my daughter had is a cancer which used to, in the old days, hit people when they're like 80 or 85 years old. And she's a little girl, and she's got bone cancer from the heavy metals that have been sprayed in our area. And my neighbor kept persisting in using this ridiculous little leaf blower to blow away the rough edges on the dirt, make it all nice and smooth, and to blow the dust off of the rocks. Her whole front yard is down with rocks for parking your vehicles on or whatever, and her driveway. And she was spraying all these dust balls into the air until there was this huge cloud of dust that was like 20 feet taller than the telephone wires. And I went out and told her, please don't do that. You need to take a little bit of a hose and water it down so that those things go into the soil and can hopefully be filtered down as they go through the levels of sand and soil that's in our earth, because that stuff blowing into the air is making people have cancer. And within a couple of hours of going out to speak with her, my nose started pouring giant blood clots that were like a half a pound each. My daughter stops at the house and looks at me, and 4 clots came out that were like a half a pound each in just the 5 minutes that she was standing there. And I put them into baggies and took them with me to the emergency room. When I got to the emergency room, they immediately requested a blood draw that would check for aluminum and heavy metals, because that's what the government is spraying on us. And they're intended to give everyone that's of an adult age cancer. And people that are young and developing, like my child, are seriously affected by it, because your brain and your muscles and your body is growing at such a rate. They are much more susceptible to extreme, I don't know what you would call it, exponentially increasing the amount of cancers and things that are going into their bodies. And she now has to go to, she's been going to the doctor every other week. She has spent the last 6 months mostly in the hospital, and has just now had to go back in. And once they think that they've taken care of the cancer, and you have a period where you're, not showing as serious of signs as before, generally that lasts between a couple of months and a year, and then they die. Because when you come back with those symptoms, they come back so much harder the second time. So I'm trying to sit outside in my yard with my dog, and this lady's blowing this dust around. And I explained to her, this is so dangerous, please don't blow the dirt around once they have dropped it. And a few hours later, I started bleeding, and I had to keep about a wad of toilet paper, as much as is on a toilet paper roll, shoved up and inside both sides of my nose for 4 days. Couldn't get it to stop. It would not stop. And when I finally got to the emergency room, and they asked to have my blood drawn and checked for the metals that they already knew was in these chemical sprayings, there was this entire huge case sitting on the counters of each one of the emergency room little quad curtained off areas that I could see, in preparation for people coming in. And they said they'd had people coming in, all summer, and they're trying to hide it by putting on each person's chart a different reason, saying this one has an allergy, and this one had a nosebleed, and this one had something else, and they're trying to diminish and hide it. But the fact of the matter is that our government is actively trying to kill us. And the sprayings, which took part largely in the spring, were to make sure that none of our trees or bushes or gardens produced anything edible whatsoever. Okay, the government is actively going around and killing populations of wild animals. They've come down to where the only animal still that has any population at all are the wild horses in the Sioux Reservation area. And that's why they're going in with these claims of, the pipeline and all this, is because they know that pipes leak. but it costs their bean counters less to make it leak than, and do that cleanup, or say, oops, we slap you on your hand, than to deal with the cost of, say, a fire if a train and a tanker is carrying those same volumes of oil to southern producers. And when they were doing this, they discovered that there is still a horse population in that area. And so they have gone out with a mandate that we want you to kill 45,000 horses. Now, I've lived and captured wild horses in that area for many years, and I'll tell you, there aren't that many there. They want an entire decimation of every single viable source of food killed off, and the same thing has happened with our food sources from these chemical sprayings, and I'm in Southern California. When I went down to the beach upon their orders to acquiesce that they have the power, or they would put me in prison for 10 years or jail for 3.5 years, they said, for evidences that they had already planted somewheres in my house. And they started describing to me things that were on different tables or dressers or closets in the various rooms to prove that they knew exactly what was in my house and where, and that they had been in my house. And so I left under order, under their threats and penalties, and went down to the beach cities and slept in my car. And I can tell you that every morning I saw over Palos Verdes and Torrance area planes already starting to spray just before dawn, right in the early morning hours before the light actually comes over the hills. And there's planes zipping back and forth, and the winds kind of dissipate the chemical trails where it's in those perfect straight crisscross lines like a checkerboard reasonably soon, sometimes within just a half an hour. So by the time the light is full on up and people are ready and getting ready for work, they don't actually look at the sky, if they do at all, until around 8 or 9 o'clock when they're on their way to work. And now it's just this little misty haze that's kind of over the coastline, and people don't realize how much that they're being sprayed. But I was taking care of growing a lot of fruit trees, fruit bushes, vegetables, fruit plants in my gardens, in my front and my backyard. And I'll tell you, a tree that I normally get 12 bushels of apple from did not produce a single apple this year. And once the chemicals started spraying, my lilac bushes were absolutely in tons of full bloom from last fall's fertilizing and such. And these blooms had started to open up and were open halfway, and the spraying started for spring, and they stopped. They stopped dead in the middle of these giant chunks of blooms where half of the lilac branch is blossomed and the other half stayed in these hard little balls. They never ended up opening up. And the apple tree never ended up making a single bloom. They go into bloom slightly after the lilacs would. Lilacs are usually first, along with your bulb type plants. And the cherry bushes, which are normally covered, and I can make, several dozen jars of jelly from currants and cherries, didn't make anything. One bush made one cherry. And these strawberries that had been producing 6 berries every single morning, all of a sudden stopped, and they started sending out runners. They knew that they were on the verge of death, and that is a life-saving mechanism that they do within themselves. Once their time for production is over, they go straight into sending out as many shoots and runners as they can, hopefully that they take root before winter so that they can survive come the next year. So the strawberry plants went literally into survival mode. And there are people up there in our hierarchy that know exactly who is ordering these mass killings and who is ordering that these drugs that are sprayed over us are to keep our population dumb and stupid and so lethargic that they can't move and barely survive. I walked into a group of elderly people, and they're not even that elderly, a couple weeks ago, and they said, I used to get up at 4:30 in the morning and work all day and keep going till 9:45 at night and, doing all these projects and things around my house and outside and sanding and painting and all kinds of activities. And they go, by 2 o'clock every day, I absolutely have to lay down for a nap. I mean, it's absolutely decimating all activity within our population to keep us so subjected with no energy and absolute stupidity, and the plants not being able to support any life or produce any fruits or vegetables. And last year they didn't bother with the fall activity, and this year they are. So we know that they're trying to make sure that plants which start figuring out what their production is going to be the following year, like the lilacs, don't produce anything at all next year. The government wants you to have to be able to go to them to get food. If you don't take their microchip, their mark of the beast, their new world order, they will take away all food populations. Don't think you can go out into the woods and the forest, because places that used to have 25 to 27,000 elk left after all of the Indian reservations were done with their winter hunting, now in the summertime only had 5 or 6 elk, period, left. The moose population, almost entirely decimated. The entire Northwest only had 8 moose left. And they're lying to you with numbers because they'll go where they know where a certain type of animal is, and they will map out, okay, this is 1 square mile, and there's 50 animals sitting here, and there's 100,000 square miles of wilderness, so we'll just multiply that figure and say that's how many there are everywhere. I'm sorry, but there's not, especially with all the droughts and the forest fires, and some of those forest fires were intentionally set. There was a forest fire that was intentionally set in Southern California at the beginning of last summer because there were so many hundreds of homeless families that went up into abandoned campgrounds. There were 300 families living up in there, and summer had not quite full on started, and all of a sudden this fire started, and guess what? All those people got chased out of there and taken to FEMA camps and things so that they would not be spotted or tell anybody what's going on. And those people have since disappeared. So it's time to get on the phone and write and call every hour of every day, whoever your senator and your congressman and your governor are, and let them know that we know, and take this video and pass it on to every single one of your Facebook contacts and your tweets and your friends and whoever's in your address book, and get this video out, because they will go and drop that option and try to move to a different option, probably one that's less fatality count, if they know that we know. Don't count on any of the cute little monarchies or anything else to help us, because I'll tell you what, people, Prince Harry holds the patent on the RFID chip, which is going to be required. They're going to take all your guns away. They're going to take all your money away. They've already taken away all the fish, all the deer, all the elk, all the horses now. So please, I invite you all to pray, pray, pray. Make sure there's no sin in your life. Do not be worshiping the devil by holding sin in your life. And write me at buffalostudy@yahoo.com. Or if you can help at all with this ministry, I don't even have gas money to get to go see my daughter in the hospital. I have a brand new little baby grandbaby that I have not and cannot be able to see. They've taken away 39 properties and $128 million from me. I don't have $5 left to my name. If you can assist in any way, please send any assistance to PayPal/buffalostudy@yahoo.com, or look for me under fundme.com. I'll try and put something up there in the next week. Or just write me at P.O. Box 31, Big Bear Lake, 92315. And I hope to see you all in heaven. Pray and read and ask Jesus into your heart. The Bible says, call upon the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, and ye shall be saved. And it's going to look like they're winning, folks. It's going to look like they're winning. They are trying to kill 7 billion people on this planet. And before the end of the world, before Jesus comes back with the rapture, you will see 7 billion people that do get killed from all of these measures. So let's get the word out and try to witness to as many friends as we can, enemies, government people, and get more souls saved, because the devil wants to kill those that are witnessing, and the devil wants to kill those that don't have Jesus in their heart. Because every soul he takes down is a soul he's taken to hell with him. And when he knows that's where he's going, to hell, and then eventually hell will be thrown in a lake and fire, he's going to try to take down as many people as he can with him. So make sure that your heart is right with God, and I hope to see you all soon. And write every single congressman and senator, why do you think they're not doing anything for the last 8 years? Get a hold of them and let them know that we know and pass this video on to everyone that you can. Thank you so much. God bless you. I hope to see you in heaven. I'll see you as soon as I get beheaded. And yes,